Welcome to District Dialogues. My name is Marvin Arrington Jr. I am the Vice Chair of Fulton County Commission. I'm also the representative for District 5 of Fulton County. District 5 represents Atlanta, East Point, College Park, the city of South Fulton, and Union City. In this time of social distancing, I'm pleased to bring you the show virtually via Zoom. While the look may be different, we still have the same good information to share. We will be talking about how COVID-19 is impacting our libraries, the 2020 election, the 2020 census, and the nonprofits who are trying to assist us, all of our communities which are in need. My guests today are Taryn Gilliam, Branch Group Administrator for the Fulton County Library System, Fran Calhoun, Fulton Division Manager for the 2020 census efforts, Richard Barron, Director of Registration and Elections, and Greg Cole from Emma's House, one of the nonprofits that the county has partnered with in its COVID-19 response. Up first is Taryn Gilliam, the Group Administrator for Fulton County Library System. Hi, Taryn. Welcome to our first virtual district.
Hello, how are you doing? I'm pleased to be here.
Thank you for joining us today. If you will, tell us, how has the library responded to this public health emergency with the closing of our branches?
Well, we didn't want to interrupt the number of services that we've always provided. Therefore, we've been more robust with our online resources and offerings that we've been providing. What that means is we've stepped up our virtual programming to make sure we continue to provide all these services that our patrons are used to. We connected with our patrons through social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Awesome. And what are some of the benefits of library card holders, and how can people get a library card if they don't currently have one?
Okay, first off, let me answer by stating that Fulton County residents can obtain a library card by going to our library's website, which is www.fulcolibrary.org, where there's a link you can immediately apply online for a library card, and you will receive that card immediately, free of charge. So that's a great thing. Also, the benefit to having this library card is that you will have access to our large collection of books and digital collections, our numerous databases such as Overdrive and Libby, and you will have access to our state-of-the-art meeting and study rooms and computers once we do get back on track and open our branches back up.
Awesome, awesome. Tell us about some of the free resources and programming that is available to families and communities, especially with kids out of school and looking for activities.
Okay, our library website, which I stated to you, fulcolibrary.org, will continue to offer our digital resources such as ebooks, audiobooks. We offer tutoring assistance for kids and databases such as Hoopla, which offers access to free movies, TV shows, comics, and music. But more recently, due to this pandemic, we're currently offering many virtual programs for all ages, such as online fitness classes, cooking and crafting programs. But our most popular programs have been our live virtual storytime programs. We have a Facebook Live Storytime for kids every day, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m., as well as Storytime for adults, which is called Book Break, every Thursday at 4 p.m. And we recently, as of last week, started a new weekly series for teens on Instagram every Friday at 3 p.m. called All Booked Up, which discusses the best teen reads of the day. So as you can tell, we've been pretty busy staying connected with our community.
Well, we thank you all for your work throughout this pandemic, throughout these interesting times that we live in.
Definitely.
And I know our families and the residents of Fulton County thank you all for all that you are doing to help families transition during this timing. Any other ways that the audience can connect with the library? I know you've given out the website, and talked about social media, but any other thing you'd like to say?
Well, they definitely at our websites. That's our number one way to stay connected with us, with the library's website at fullcoatlibrary.org, because you'll have access to all of our resources there. But also, we will continue to post up-to-date information pertaining to our branches, which is very important, which is usually the questions most of our patrons have, wanting to know the status of the libraries, whether it's for the renovations or even for our openings during this time. But you can find us on Facebook at Fulton County Library System and on Instagram at Full Co Library.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Our second guest today is Mr. Richard Barron, Director of Registrations and Elections. We are in the middle of a big election season, and there have been a lot of changes and modifications. I'm sure Mr. Barron and his people have been working double, triple time to make sure that everything is ready for the upcoming election on June 9th. How you doing, Mr. Barron? Thanks for joining us today.
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
If someone has applied for a ballot by mail but has yet to receive it, what should he or she do?
The best thing to do would be to email Pamela Coman in our office in voter registration. She can be reached at pamela.coman. That's COMAN at fultoncountyga.gov. And then we can look up the application and see where it is in the process. The electronic applications that we have been processing, we're behind on those, but the paper applications are essentially caught up.
All right, and is there a deadline by which one has to even apply for the ballot? What's the last day that you can apply to receive an absentee ballot?
June 5th is the deadline to apply for an absentee by mail ballot. It's better if you get it in sooner, because the third-party contractor that the state is using mails those from Arizona. So there could be some lag time from the time they process it until the time you receive it. And we have to get ballots in by 7 p.m. on Election Day.
All right. Can you tell us about the drop boxes for absentee by mail ballots that will be available to voters?
Yes, the drop boxes that we have purchased we're starting to install them today, Wednesday, May 13th. By the 20th, they should be in around the county. Each day, we're going to update the sites on our website that are installed. There will be a green dot on this GIS map that will tell voters where they can go to drop off their absentee by mail ballots. And that is another way voters can turn those in instead of putting them in the mail.
Okay. Tell us, if you will, what other modifications or changes have you had to make as a result of COVID-19?
We have lost a number of polling places. In fact, including through this morning, we have made 40 changes to our polling places since just before the March election date. We will probably have about, I would say 32 of those will be polling place changes. Voters should look for precinct cards or a head of household mailing to come in the mail to alert them as to their polling place changes. They could also go to the My Voter page for the Secretary of State's website to see where their current polling place is. Because there are a number of voters throughout the county that have been affected by these COVID dropouts by polling places.
If you will, tell us briefly about the plans to make sure that the polling locations, the people that come to vote, and the workers will be safe.
Yeah, we are giving all of our poll workers face shields, masks, gloves, and sanitizer. We will also give voters stylus in which to use with the ballot marking devices so that they don't have to use their fingers. Those will be sanitized between each voter. There will be sanitizer for the voters as well. We are encouraging voters to use face coverings when they come in, not only to protect themselves, but the other people in their community. We will, if you do choose to vote on election day, we are going to have fewer sites available. We're going to be, the restrictions of maintaining distance between people will only allow us to have a certain number of people, usually probably between 5 to 8 maximum, in addition to the poll workers in a polling place. So that could create lines. My suggestion for everyone is to vote by mail in order to make this process run much smoother.
Okay. When does early voting start?
Early
What
voting
are the hours and locations?
Early voting starts on May 18th and runs through June 5th. We will be open Monday through Friday, 9 to 4:30, except for Memorial Day will be closed. We will also be open on Saturday, May 30th from 9 to 4:30. We're at 5 locations, the South Annex, the C.T. Martin Natatorium, Garden Hills Elementary, Sandy Springs Library, and Alpharetta Library.
All right, and you know I've already gotten the calls on why you got 3 voting locations in the north side and not 3 on the south side.
Yeah, we had 4 locations, and then the Fulton County delegation asked us, the state delegation asked us to get something either in Midtown or Buckhead, because there was nothing between C.T. Martin Natatorium and Sandy Springs, because Ponce Library, Northside Library, and Buckhead Library are undergoing renovations. So we were able to secure a school at Garden Hills.
Okay. All right, how can our audience find out more information about the upcoming election, absentee ballots, and everything elections?
They can either go to fultonelections.com or they can visit the Secretary of State's My Voter page.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Barron.
Thanks for having me.
The clock is also clicking for the 2020 census. And like many other initiatives and events, COVID-19 has impacted our census efforts. Fran Calhoun and her team have been working hard to make sure that Fulton gets counted. Fran, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, for having me.
All right, what are the current response rates looking like so far?
Well, they're coming in slowly, but the good news is that we have at least crossed our halfway mark. The county overall is at 54%, and District 5, we're looking at about half, of course, of that community. College Park, we're going to be doing some extra effort and work down that way, trying to get them up. Our goal is to get all of our cities up to 60% by the end of June. And so that's why we're going to be making some extra effort in College Park. They're kind of pulling up the rear at 38% right now.
And what can we do to help our cities get up to that 60% threshold?
Yeah, so as you know, with all of the COVID-19 social distancing and sheltering in place, we had to move our events from in person to online, social media, doing things like this Zoom session. We've got to get everybody to do that. And we're so grateful that you are hosting us, and we're asking our churches, our other faith communities to do the same thing, to put this information in their online bulletins. And of course, you know, social media is kind of our new electronic pen of influence, if you will. And so with that powerful tool, we want to just make sure everyone is singing from the same hymnal. We will be passing out as soon as possible more leafleting information, but we're hoping that we can get our commissioners to maybe do a census caravan in the month of June, because what we've discovered is that, you know, something like the birthday parades, In the high density areas, especially with apartments, we've got over 35% of folk in District 5 who live in rented spaces. And so being able to get to them and to say, or even in gated communities, perhaps even, that this is important, that these dollars come directly to our communities each year. And we're talking about billions of dollars. This is no small change. This helps offset needs for property tax increases. And of course, good folk like Greg Cole and Emma's house, they rely on us being able to push those funds to them and other funds that they can get even directly from the federal government.
All right, thank you. We hear talk about ensuring an accurate and fair count and stressing everyone to get counted. Why is it so important that we get counted?
It's extremely important that the census is accurate. You know, there are two words that come to mind, misalignment and then imbalance. So misalignment, if we don't have the funds, the funding levels to meet the need levels in our community, then we've got a gap that we've got to fill through property tax increases and the like. And so we certainly want to make sure that we're getting all of the federal dollars that we are due. And that's why every person counts with our schools. When we see overcrowding, that's because we may have had low counts in those areas. The imbalance is that we don't have the accurate representation in Congress and the House of Representatives for the amount of folk, the population numbers in our state and our communities. So we want to make sure everybody is counted.
Awesome. What adjustments have you had to make, as a result of COVID-19? Obviously, you mentioned earlier having to cancel in-person events and go online, but tell us about what other restrictions you had.
Well, both on the local and, of course, the national level, we have had to push our operations even farther out into the year. The Census Bureau has extended its deadline by 90 days. And so we actually have until October 31st at this time to self-respond. However, we are just pleading with folk to please complete the census now. It's easy, it's quick, it's fast, it's safe. It takes 5 minutes in most instances to get it done. Again, the longer it takes us to reach people, the more money we're having to spend running after folk. And now more than ever, with all of the COVID-19 matters and how we're having to follow CDC guidelines as shelter and it was for social distancing anyway, we don't want to have to send enumerators, door knockers, to people's homes. This is not the time to have to do in-person counting. So we are pleading with folks. They can go online to 2020census.gov. They can call over the phone from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. in the morning at toll-free 1-800-330-2020. That's I'm sorry, I said 800, but forgive me, it's 844-330-2020. So they can go online, they can do it over the phone. It's easier now more than ever, and this is the first time the census has been online, so we were very fortunate to have that available to us.
I did mine last week. It took about 3 minutes. It didn't even take a full 5 minutes. So please, everyone, go out and complete your census for 2020. Thank you, Fran, for the update.
Thank you.
Is there a website or anywhere where there's more information that you want to share?
Absolutely. We have toolkits and resources at our Fulton County Census Hub. Our residents and audience can go to, of course, www.fultoncountyga.gov, and that's /2020 census.
All right. Thank you so much, Fran.
Thank you.
Just days after the COVID-19 pandemic was declared, Fulton County government responded to get help to the communities that needed help. We did this by passing a COVID-19 relief package that at a value of $10 million. It empowered a number of organizations to respond to the need of Fulton's most vulnerable populations, such as seniors, low income, and the homeless. Emma's House is one of those organizations. Greg Cole is here to tell us how the funds from Fulton County's COVID-19 relief helped Emma's House to help others in Fulton County. Greg, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Vice Chair Arrington. It's great to be with you and to be with your other guests.
So tell us, what is the history of Emma's House?
So the Emmaus House is a mission of the Episcopal Diocese of Atlanta and was founded 53 years ago, actually by an Episcopal priest who felt that the Episcopal Church at the time was not living into its values during the Civil Rights Movement. And he wanted to do something about that. And so he left his suburban white parish and moved to Peoplestown, which is just south of the old Turner Field and Georgia State Stadium, and began work in the community and doing community organizing and working with kids and after school programs and whatnot. And so Emmaus House has evolved from that point to what it is today, and is still in the same location on the corner of Hank Aaron Drive and Haygood in Peoplestown.
All right, and what do you see as the role of Emmaus House in the Peoplestown community and in the greater Fulton County community?
I think throughout its history, Emmaus House has tried to be an advocate, a voice for people, an opportunity for people to amplify their voice. I know earlier in our history, Father Ford, who was here for 25 years, did a lot of advocacy work down at City Hall and the State House. And,
yes.
Some of you are shaking your heads because you've heard of Father Ford. And so we've tried, as I say, to be a voice for those who don't necessarily have a voice, that is heard. And we also try to be a resource for people through food and assistance and education and other means. Really, whatever way we can respond to the needs of the people in this part of the city and the county.
What specific, I guess, COVID-19 relief have you had, and how have you had to adjust to this pandemic?
So some of the things that we were already doing were well suited to this moment, if you will. We already had a food pantry, and we already were providing rent and utility and mortgage assistance to people. And so what we've been able to do is really increase fairly dramatically the amounts of those helps that we can give. Our food pantry, I think we were typically distributing about 5,000 pounds of food a month, and in April we distributed over 13,000. So a huge increase in the amount of food we've been able to get to people. And in terms of rental assistance and utility assistance, because of grants like the one from Fulton County and some others, we've dramatically increased the amount of funds available to help people, with the goal of helping them to stay in place. If they're elderly, to be able to age in place. If they've lost their jobs, to be able to stay in place while they get their feet on the ground. And so that's really become our main focus during this time. And we've been very blessed to get some substantial funding to be able to do that work.
And how many people have you been able to help since the pandemic, or as a result of the funds that were given by Fulton County?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure how many yet. Our caseworker is getting many calls every day, and so screening people, making sure that they qualify, and then we're writing checks. And it won't take as long, believe me, to use the money that we got from Fulton County, because the need is, as you can imagine, is severe.
Are there other ways that the audience can contact Emmaus House and contribute themselves or come volunteer?
Yeah, it's hard right now, given social distancing, to have too many volunteers. We've managed to get our food pantry to do it in such a way that we conform to all guidelines, but that does mean not using volunteers. So we've been relying on our staff to do that. But certainly people can learn more about Emmaus House by going to our website, emmaushouse.org, and we're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as Emmaus House as well.
And if you will, spell that for us or for the audience.
Sure, it's EMMAUS. Emmaus.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Cole.
Thank you.
And thank you for all the great work that you all do, not on an ongoing basis, but certainly, especially now during the middle of this pandemic.
Thank you.
At this point, we want to thank everyone for watching our first virtual district dialogue. We want to ask you to stay updated to the county's response to COVID-19 via the Fulton County website, fultoncountyga.gov/COVID-19. And of course, I invite you to stay in contact with me and my office through our website and social media platforms. Don't forget, while in public, please continue to wear a mask, wash your hands, stay 6 feet apart, and until next time, stay safe.